Hi folks, it's Bradley J. I'm in Rome, and on this trip I've met some great people. One of those folks is John Allen, and the John's many things, and one of them is the founder of an organization called CRUX, and it's so interesting that I really want to share it with you. So John, tell me about CRUX.
Well, I suppose the first thing to know is that I'm not actually the founder. I mean, everybody thinks that, but the truth of it is, CRUX began life in 2014. Well, first let me say, it is an online media platform devoted to coverage of the Vatican and the Catholic Church. It began life, and that is cruxnow.com, by the way. Cruxnow.com, as we like to say, your one-stop shopping destination for the very best in smart, wired, and independent Catholic journalism. Anyway, it began life in 2014 as a project of the BostonGlobe, and it was a personal initiative of John Henry, the owner of the Globe. So I guess, in a way, he's actually the founder of it. And Henry had this vision for the American newspaper as a kind of hub of special interest. So you'd have the Metro Daily at the core, and then around it you would have kind of like spikes around a wheel. You know, you would have a platform for women, and a platform for high tech, and a platform for finance. But he wanted to begin with the Catholic Church because, first of all, just the demography of Boston. There are a lot of Catholics in Boston. And also because, of course, the Globe is very well known for having won the Pulitzer Prize for breaking open the story of the clerical abuse scandals in the Catholic Church. So it seemed a natural place for him to start. And so he hired me to be sort of the lead correspondent for this thing. By that point, I had had about 20 years of experience covering the Vatican for the National Catholic Reporter. So I came on board, and then we put together a team. Now, in 2016, we went independent. The Globe at the time needed to contain costs, and under the principle of, last in, first out, we went fairly quickly. But they were extraordinarily gracious. I asked them, well, what are you going to do with the site and the design and the rights to it? And then the answer was, we have no idea what we're going to do with it. And so I said, could I buy it from you? And that's what I thought was going to have to happen.
And they said, don't worry about it.
No, I thought I was going to have to hire a team of lawyers, and there would be some complicated corporate rigmarole. And what John basically said is, I'll give it to you for $1. And so I paid the Boston Globe Incorporated $1, and I became the legal owner of CRUX. And then what our business model now is, we survive on online donations, so crowdfunding, basically. And then we also have some benefactors, and we sell ads on the site, and we're able to sort of make a go of it that way. And we have a team of basically about 8 full-time people, and then part-time contributors. The core of it is here in Rome, because of course that's where the Vatican is, but we also have people in New York, in the UK, in India, in Cameroon, in Africa. And the idea is, there are a lot of Catholic news outlets out there, but I think there are 2 things that we like to think, anyway, are distinctive about CRUX. One is, in a hyper-polarized time, we don't take sides. And I think if you were to go around town and ask people who read us, you would have a hard time getting them to say whether they thought we were conservative or liberal. So that's kind of what's famous about us, is that we're hard to pigeonhole, and that's on purpose. The other thing is, Americans, for all of our strengths, we tend to be a little bit insular. We don't pay much attention to the rest of the world. We are deliberately global in our focus. So on any given day, if you go on the CRUX site, you'll find a couple stories about the church in the States, but you will find 10 stories about the church in the rest of the world, and that's on purpose too, because the truth of it is, there are 1.3 billion Catholics in the world, and there are about 70 million Catholics in the United States, which means we are more or less 6% of the global Catholic population. And if you think you can tell the whole Catholic story just by focusing on the States, you got your head in the sand.
That's great. Tell me about the name. I hadn't guessed, but you told me, and I was very pleased with the name and the double entendre?
Well, calling it Crux was something that somebody in the Globe IT department came up with. So what they were thinking, I honestly don't know. But the way we like to look at it is, first of all, crux is the Latin word for cross. CRUX means cross, right? And there are so many famous Catholic hymns that have the word crux in it. It's immediately recognizable to Catholics. But of course, in English, there is also this expression, the crux of the matter, getting to the heart of things.
The center.
Right, which is what we try to do journalistically. So it's a beautiful double entendre. Whether that's what the Globe was thinking, I don't know. But it worked out great.
When you meet folks, they invariably ask you, well, how can you not insert your personal beliefs into your reporting? I've heard your answer. Can you give it again?
Well, look, I mean, complete objectivity is, of course, a myth. I mean, everybody has a perspective on things. But I think you can get much closer to it. It's kind of asymptotic, but you can get progressively closer. The way we like to look at it is that every story that we do, if you just report one side of it, you're not doing full service to the story, because they are inevitably more complex and there are multiple ways of seeing it. So we like to think of Crux, our mission is not to tell people what to think. Our mission is to give people the tools to think for themselves. Now, the thing of it is, I never studied journalism. I kind of backed into this as a career. I always thought that's what journalism was supposed to be. I woke up one morning and I realized, wow, we are avant-garde. Because we live in an era, of course, of spin. And we try to be the place that resists the spin cycle.
Who is Crux for?
Well, I think of our audience in concentric circles, right? So at the core of it are like what you might call professional Catholics. So I'm talking about bishops, priests, nuns,
So it's almost an insider.
Yeah, in that way, it's like the Capitol Report, right, for the Capitol Hill crowd. And that's also lay people who work for the church, whether that's in parishes or in dioceses or here in the Vatican. Now, outside of that would be Catholics who are interested in church affairs. They don't work for the church, but they're interested, right? Outside of that would be the general reader, who maybe isn't Catholic, but who nevertheless recognizes the Catholic Church has a lot of influence in the world and they like to know what's going on, right? And then outside of that would be people who tune in to the church only for big events. So they may not read us day to day, week to week, but if some huge scandal erupts, all of a sudden they're paying attention. Or if the Pope comes to the United States, right, all of a sudden they're paying attention. And we're a place they can go to get the background they need to get up to speed.
I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about Crux. How do people get involved again? What's the URL?
So the URL is www.cruxnow.com. cruxnow.com. All of our content is free, so there's no paywall. But there is an opportunity there to support us if you want to. So my invitation would be that if you go on the site, you start reading it, you like what you see, there's a nice and easy, very quick way. You can give us $5 a month. You know what you would spend on a cup of coffee at Starbucks this month. And we would be deeply grateful for that, because that's what allows us, our tagline is, we're smart, wired, and independent. And I always say independence is precious, but it ain't free. For us not to be beholden to any one party, including the system, we need lots of individuals to have our backs.
All right. Thank you very much, John Allen of Crux. We are clear.